Mediterranean Sea, and for first time after 13 years, an American carrier hit targets from this area. How important is this fact for U.S. Navy?
It's very important not just for the U.S. Navy, but for the whole world. I think we are fighting an enemy who has no respect for human dignity and human life, and I think it's important for all of us collectively to contribute in the fight against them. I think the significance of us operating out of the Mediterranean again is that it's a demonstration that the United States Navy can operate anywhere we want to in the world, that we're very flexible, we're adaptable, and it doesn't matter where we are. We don't have to ask permission to be there, but we can affect security throughout the world just on the basis of our ability to move wherever we choose to move.
Okay, thank you. Could you give us more details about the strikes, the aircraft involved, and the targets that were hit during the last period?
I can to some extent. First, we entered the Mediterranean on the 2nd of June, and we began flying strikes on the 3rd of June, and we completed those on the 19th. So during that time, we had about 16 days that we were operating and conducting those strikes. We flew 234 combat missions from Harry S. Truman into Iraq and Syria. We delivered about 180 weapons on ISIL targets there. We continue to strike at the leadership of ISIL and at their ability to generate revenue, their oil production capabilities, and I would offer that when we entered the fight back in December, they were making about $500 million a year on their oil production capabilities, and that's been cut somewhere between 30 and 50%. So they're having a much more challenging time generating their revenue to fund their operations. So that has been a large focus. Additionally, we are working with the anti-ISIL forces on the ground to support them in their efforts to push ISIL back and to attack the forces that are on the ground there.
Okay, thank you. Based on the overview we have of this area, how close or how far is the defeat of ISIS on the battlefield at this moment? Has its strength been reduced?
Well, the strength has been reduced in Iraq and Syria. I think as we've learned recently through some testimony and other outlets that ISIL has spread, and that is demonstrated by their attacks in Paris and in Brussels, and the fact that they are not just in Iraq and Syria. So we have been very successful in our strikes in Iraq and Syria at reducing ISIL. I think for Europe and for the entire world, our greater concern needs to be where else are they and what do they plan next, and how do we stop that before it happens.
Thank you. Do you think the presence of the American Navy in the Mediterranean Sea and the operations that are conducted sending a multiple message? A lot of countries want to have a permanent presence in a region that is currently one of the hottest places on Earth.
What was the first part of the question?
Do you think the presence of American Navy in the Mediterranean and the operations that are conducted sending a multiple message?
I think any time we have an opportunity to work together with our NATO allies and our partners here in the region, it's a positive thing. As we strengthen our relationships, it's good for the whole region, and it's good for the world. Our presence here, we hope, is contributing to the security in the region. I believe that it is. Commodore Lavin has his 3 ships here right now, and they have been intimately involved with all of our operations in the Mediterranean, and he has had the opportunity to do port visits here throughout the region as well. You saw Gonzalez perhaps yesterday. She just departed. Gravely was here in Souda Bay in the early part of June, and USS Bulkley is in Santorini, and Commodore Lavin can certainly talk more about the operations that the destroyer squadron has been conducting.
Okay. We are in one of the ship symbols of the US power in the aircraft carrier Harry S. Truman. How important is for the US Navy and for the country itself to deploy such forces in many hotspots of the planet? If we consider also that there is one more carrier in the area, USS Eisenhower.
Yes.
How important is
These are regularly scheduled deployments. The Navy for the United States and navies around the world, we deploy regularly. We are not a garrison force. We don't just stay home. So this is a regularly scheduled deployment by Harry S. Truman and by Dwight D. Eisenhower. These are not deployments that were just because of Operation Inherent Resolve or any of the other things that are going on in the world. So it's important to understand that we do these regularly scheduled deployments. Now, once we are on deployment, we can go anywhere that we want to and respond globally to whatever threat is most important. And I think looking at where our power is applied with the aircraft carrier and certainly with the complete carrier strike force, with the strike group and all that we bring, is a good indication of what's most important to global security and to the security of Europe and the United States. And you can see the impact that we had here. We talked about our success conducting strikes from the Eastern Mediterranean and building the partnerships through this port visit, many others, and some of the exercises that we're doing.
I'm asking because, as we know, the deployment of Harry S. Truman extended for more
Yes.
1 month
Yes.
from its programmed.
Yes, it did. And in the wake of the Brussels attack, the president expressed that the destruction of ISIL was his #1 priority, and he applied some accelerants, some means by which we could increase the tempo of our fight against ISIL. We are part of that. Our extension for 1 month was an expression of the United States' will to destroy ISIL. So that is what the justification is and why we were extended for a month.
And, how difficult is for the crew this extension?
Yes.
And for the ship itself?
Yes, it has been. Our hearts are with our families back home, but we understand that the priorities, and this is a professional fighting force. These are professional sailors who have volunteered to be here and conduct this mission. So they took the extension as you would expect them to, in stride. They remain focused on conducting our operational mission, and they have done so exceedingly well, and I'm very proud of them.
We are sure they did the job professionally.
Yes, they're very professional.
Okay, and last question.
Yes.
How important is for you and the presence of naval base of Souda Bay, through which your fleet can refuel and operate from the island of Crete?
Yes, this is just a wonderful opportunity for us to continue our partnership, and the partnership goes decades. It's not anything that is just on this visit. I was here 13 years ago on Harry S. Truman during the winter of 2002-2003. Spent New Year's here in Souda Bay, and shortly thereafter we were operating from the Eastern Med and began Operation Iraqi Freedom when we were conducting strikes from the Eastern Med. And that is indicative of how long this relationship has gone on, and it started many years before that. This is World War II, long before you and I were here. But the hospitality and the generosity of the people here in Greece, and our opportunity to share the history and learn the culture, the welcoming people, it has been wonderful, and we are treated like family here, and it's very important to us to keep that relationship very strong, because it's good for everybody. It's certainly good for the United States and for Greece and for the entire region, because of the support, the friendship, and the hospitality that enables us to do the operational things that we do.
Okay. Any questions?
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very, very much.
Yes, sir. I like your music, Johnny Cash.